Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Teen from South Carolina. This is my fifth Principals First Summit. Thank you. I'd like to welcome to the stage Sarah Longwell and Tim Miller. Seems like you all probably know all of this, but Sarah is the publisher of the Bulwark and host of the Focus Group podcast. She's been involved in numerous efforts defending democracy and supporting our institutions. She's also no stranger to the Principals First stage. Tim is a former political strategist for Republican candidates. He's a New York Times best-selling author. He appears frequently on MSNBC for political analysis. He's a writer at large for the Bulwark and host of the Bulwark podcast. Welcome.
Do I gotta press the button? Oh, there we go. We're live. Hey y'all, it's Saturday. It's almost happy hour. Special greeting to the Oath Keepers and the MAGA Marauder. Thank you for making it out today. I don't know, are you worried? You got your bulletproof vest on or anything? Bear mace?
No, I remember when this conference was like 200 people and Heath wouldn't give us water. And so the fact that the Proud Boys feel the need to show up now feels like we've arrived. It feels like we're ready to go.
They're gonna send some mean tweets about us though, I'll tell you what. Tough guys. Anyway, congrats to Sergeant Goodell, man. That's a great man, isn't it? That's a great American. It's been an honor to get to know him.
Can you imagine coming here and being like, I want to get into it with Harry Dunn?
No.
Because Harry Dunn just walked by me, and it reminded me, I was just watching Harry Potter with my kids. It was reminding me of like what it must be like for like an 11-year-old to be near Hagrid. I was just like, hey man, so great to see you.
It's a big man.
Yeah.
He could eat me, I think. All right. Well, look, here's the thing. What does it say here? Principles first. Every year this comes around lately, and I've been using it as like an annual check-in for myself. What principles do I still have? Because that's an ongoing question, I think, that we all have to ask in this day and age, right? Are our principles still relevant in the face of the threats that we have? I think your instinct is to say yes, but it's always, I don't know, my therapist tells me it's always good to do a check-in from time to time. So I wanted to have Sarah, I'm laughing, but I'm serious too. Sarah, I want to check in with you. I know that we've got our 15...
This is an ad for BetterHelp.
We've got our 15 principles here. I'm just kind of wondering which ones of those you feel like are you still holding strong on all your principles? You wavering on any of them?
Are you going to read them out loud to me, or do I just have to know what they are?
I assume you know who they are. It's kind of like the, I don't know, Nicene Creed of the Principles First Conference.
No, he made me, we were reading them backstage, and I looked and I was like, yeah, I'm still good with all of these, and you were like, I'm a hard maybe.
Well, I do have a few maybes. I don't know. Like, we need to be truthful in every instance. Is that right? Do we still need to be truthful in every single instance? They're non-negotiable. He says truth is non-negotiable. Are we sure? Is it a little negotiable these days?
I think he's trying to draw a contrast with the people for whom truth no longer matters. He's saying it still matters to us.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think he means like telling your kids, that the Easter Bunny's there. I mean, I think he just means we're not like lying to the American people about whether an election happened.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I just mean, we could do some exaggerating, I don't know. We could start blaming things on Trump that maybe might not be his fault per se, play by his rules a little bit.
Okay.
All right. See, I'm starting to get some interest out here. In seriousness, I was at one of the other democracy confabs like a week or two ago, and one of the questions from the audience was, how do we fight disinformation and misinformation? And, the nerds on stage, they were kind of like, well, we got to fact check, and we need new media outlets of our own, and like all these things, we need to be nimble in responding. And I was like, yes. But also, shouldn't we do a little disinformation? No? 50-50. No, I got some booze.
It is not 50-50. It wasn't 50-50.
I got some booze. I'm a little tongue-in-cheek here. I'm just saying that, we're in a new world. like this person has won twice. And, it is nice to sit here and say we need to follow every single rule. But I don't know. Are there any rules that we shouldn't be following?
No, I mean, I think that we should be fighting back hard. But honestly, isn't the truth, like, one of our best weapons? Like, isn't the problem that they're
I set you up for that.
Well, it's not like we've never had this conversation before. I mean, no, but I mean this. I mean, the whole point is that we have to beat back what they're doing by telling people what really happened. And I don't know that, I listen to voters all the time say, well, I don't know what's true anymore. And I think that they are filling the void of people not being sure what the truth is with garbage. And I do think the only antidote to that is and I think this is why the Bulwark has been successful. And it's not because we do a lot of our stuff doesn't feel like homework, but it's still nutritious in its own way, right? It's because it is not steeped in lies. And I think that's important. I think people want that. I think at a time when things are really tumultuous, people are looking to hold on to the truth.
All right, I have a couple other of the principles that I'm questioning.
We're not going to get into that too deep.
No, I think that you're right. I didn't say I was a no on any of the principles. I said I'm a maybe on a couple of them still.
Just checking in.
Equality of opportunity, not equality of outcomes. I was for that. I was pretty big on number 10 for a while. And now I'm wondering, I don't know. I mean, the MAGAs surely don't care about that. And is there maybe not an argument from the left that to combat that we should be trying to create maybe not equality of outcomes, but evening the playing field when it comes to outcomes, not just saying, not letting these rich billionaires just get everything that they want just because they had the same opportunity? Thoughts?
When you said we were going to do this bit, I don't think I anticipated this is where you're going, because that's a very large question. Yeah. I think what Heath means is that we want people to have equality of opportunity, and we don't expect everybody to have equality of outcome, which is, a thing that we say to each other as young Republicans all the time, right?
That's what I mean.
But I don't think that, I guess I don't know what you mean.
You're a maybe on it as well. That's what I was trying to find a crack. I was looking down the list, and I knew I couldn't get you to crack on integrity or Constitution and the rule of law. I knew you were going to be for that. Limited government, Congress writes the laws. I know we're all together on that one. But a couple of these, I don't know.
Well, I guess I wouldn't say these billionaires, every single one of them. Donald Trump's dad handed him, millions of dollars.
Yeah, right.
They're not self-made. It's them walking in telling everybody, oh, well, there should be standards. It's like Pete Hegseth talking about standards. And I'm like, what do we call him? The DUI hire? This guy, this guy met none of the standards.
There is no shortage of DUI hires happening in this White House. It is not the best of the best. Did you watch the Kash Patel press conference after he accepted becoming director of the FBI? Don't, if you haven't. It is jarring that it is real life. I mean, he couldn't even believe it. He has this shit-eating grin on his face. He's looking around and he's like, how am I the director of the FBI? What am I supposed to do tomorrow?
Yeah.
I think that they are really, they've caught the car a little bit.
Well, we were in the Slack channel, and everybody, it was like they're reallocating all the FBI agents to Alabama. And somebody was like, well, why do we think we're doing that? And somebody was like, because they all quit. But I don't think that's why. I think he just doesn't want eyes on him, right? He doesn't want people around him being like, no, Mr. Patel, that's not actually how you do that. None of it works this way. He wants everybody gone.
He has kicked them all out. And as we were on our way here, I saw also that they are the old USAID office, which is in the Reagan building, because it was such a lib project. All those offices are emptying out. Do you know who they're giving it to?
I don't.
The border protection people.
Sure.
The CBP, because they're getting more money. Because when we talk about real spending and efficiency, which takes us to our next topic, my question for you is: this is like the other principle that I've actually really been noodling on over the past 2 months, because there could be an Earth 3 where there is a Republican president that comes in and it's like, my top priority is going to be an efficiency operation. And I'm going to bring in one of the best people in the world who's been so successful and started 3 companies, and he's going to be in charge of an efficiency operation. He's going to go through the whole government with a fine-tooth comb, and we're going to make sure we're going to digitize everything. We're going to get rid of people that aren't doing their jobs. I could see myself sitting out there in the crowd being like,
Same.
woo!
Same.
Yeah.
Because to
that.
be fair-
But here we are.
Yeah, but I mean, the government, look, if the government could get to like a Windows 95 level of efficiency, we would be crushing it from where we are. Like, if you talk to people anybody here from the government, what do? I see Holly. They're still like writing notes to each other on little pads and stuff. And that's not, I mean, they could update things a little bit.
Sure. And yet.
And yet, you mentioned that fine-tooth comb.
Yeah.
They don't have one of those. They don't even have they don't have nothing fine.
No.
They're just gonna fire everybody. And I've said this, if you guys listen to our stuff, this is a point that I'm now interested in, because either our government does absolutely nothing, and when they shut it all down, no one will be impacted because the government does nothing, or the government does a great many things that have benign but positive influence, and that when it is torn apart, people suffer real consequences. And so the idea that the government does nothing is about to get tested in real ways.
Yeah, and because he thinks that worked for him at Twitter, right? I fired a bunch of people, and I didn't ask, I didn't care what they did. I just wanted loyalists. And he's like, on the back end, Twitter still worked. For his purposes, right? I mean, like, there are more Nazis, and like the search function doesn't really work anymore, and like there are some janky things, and like it's a lot easier for people to come in and accidentally tweet crypto coins from your account when you didn't mean to, even if you have 2-factor authentication. So it's like not perfect, it's not running perfectly, but like directionally, like you can still put out 280 characters and it goes out onto the internet. And so he's like, well, I can do that also, but for the VA. And the FBI, and across the board, and I think that they are already coming to a point.
And our nuclear facilities.
Our nuclear facilities, right? And you're already seeing this. Like we reported this just the other day. It was the guy that was the chief of staff. Sam Stein reported this, chief of staff at FEMA in District 7, I think, in the Midwest, and he got fired, but he had taken the fork in the road thing. So he's like, okay, I'll retire. They fired him anyway. They weren't going to pay him out. And Sam wrote about it, and like 4 hours later, he got a call from HR and was like, hey, by the way, whoops, oopsie doopsie on that one. We saw that you took the thing. The same thing happened with the nuclear, but the problem is like that's not a way to run like a massive government that goes across 50 states, right? Where like you have to have a news story about it for you to realize that you screwed up, right? Like there are going to be a lot of other ramifications.
Well, I'll give you another one. I was talking to somebody who is pro dismantling the government, more or less, but they were on kind of a tear about how they were not getting their IRS refund. And it occurred to me that it's going to be cyclical in some way. Actually, sorry, we generally want this to be upbeat for you guys, 'cause it's been a long day and it's probably been terrifying. But I do envision a world in which you get a bunch of people being like, the government doesn't work, shut it down. Oh, the government really doesn't work. See, I told you how little it worked, because now they've dismantled it. But
I will say the IRS firings was the one, I hope there are no IRS employees in here. It was the one area where I was kind of like, that might work out in our benefit, because I do think they're going to be looking at us. So the fewer people they've got over there the next 4 years, probably the better.
don't be delusional. They will forego getting everybody their refunds and spend all their time auditing us.
Fine.
They have their priorities
Doge,
set.
big balls, the 3 Doge employees left in the IRS are going to focus entirely on the principal's first speaker lineup audits.
I wouldn't say we're like tippy top, but like we're in there.
Okay, code 2. All right, we'll survive. So I guess this takes me back to my original question. Does just the way that they have concocted this up so bad already make you reflect at all about, the broader Sarah principles about smaller and more efficient government?
No, here's the thing. There are things that are redundant in the government. The FTC does things the DOJ does. George was talking about this in our most recent pod. And basically, when something comes up and they don't know who's going to take it, they like flip a coin. Like, there are efficiencies. There are always efficiencies that can be found in enormous systems like our government. And it is worth doing those things. I mean, you and I, when you're a young Republican, you'll go and work at some Republican place, and one of the first projects they'll put you on is like, go FOIA some stuff and see all the dumb stuff the government spends money on. And you will invariably find many, many things that are dumb that the government spends money on. That is not necessarily a case that everything the government does is bad, or that everything it does is inefficient. And I gotta tell you, I do think a lot of the people who have voted for this, like, the government, the main things they do is Medicare, Social Security, and the military. And the people who voted for this are going to be very upset if anything happens basically to those three things. And so there's always some waste, fraud, and abuse that can be cut out. You want your public officials not to take taxpayer money and be wanton about it, right? Be irresponsible, right? You want to, that was the conservative position, is you're trying to get people to feel responsible to the people who are paying them. That is not what this is. This is we think that we can tear this whole thing down and there will be no repercussions, but they're wrong about that, and that I'm sure.
It's kind of like, it's sad when you get everything you ever wanted as a young Republican, but it turns out to be the most evil version of it possible. That's kind of depressing.
Well, it also turns out like 25-year-olds shouldn't be setting all of our policy. Because, yeah, we all come out of college being like, yeah, let's have an affirmative action bake sale or whatever dumb things they raise you on. And then you get older and you realize it'd be good if somebody could get me my tax refund.
Life is complicated, which is why I need to do a yearly inventory of my principles, because as you know, the longer you go in life, the more complicated things are. I do think they're going to your point about the ramifications, we're already seeing some of it. Not to Tom Friedman, everybody, but I was my Uber guy on the way here was like, yeah, I mean, he had already retired, but he's like, my job was, I did the background checks. I was like, you did them from here? And he's like, yeah, the background check people aren't all in D.C., they're everywhere. People do background checks for government, and he's just like, all my old buddies are getting canned, like are getting fired.
Yeah, nobody's doing background
They're not even
checks.
doing that anymore, right? But like all that stuff like trickles out all the way into all of society, and we've seen some of it in you mentioned Medicare, like the rural healthcare places shutting down in Virginia, and you know, JVL wrote on Friday about the person, the MAGA voters that lost their job or had a spouse that lose their job. Now there's not like a lot of people work for the federal government. There's not enough people at scale that it will like drive their popularity down to 12%. But like, what do you think the political ramifications are?
I think the political ramifications are, look, governing is about choices. Like, what are you going to spend your time doing? And the vast majority of these voters had one thing they wanted Donald Trump to do. It's the reason they brought him back, and it was to get prices to go down. And Donald Trump, because he is a fabulist and a liar and a bad person, told people constantly, like, we're going to take care of this right away. Your prices are going to go down. It's going to be great. And people said, okay, I want that. And so already last week, there were 4 high-quality polls, all of which showed Trump going from his roughly 50% honeymoon number, because 50% is very high for Donald Trump. There was one CBS poll that put him at 53%. And when people are like, oh my gosh, look how popular he is, I'm like, yeah, relative to him, but not in general. Like, every other president in the first 3 months is up in the 60s, you know? Even Joe Biden was at 60%.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So he was like 9 points higher at this point than Donald Trump is. And already the polling is coming out showing him going from that 50% back down into sort of the 45%. And I think, and this is actually a really important point. So there's a lot of people, when I brought this up, who were like, well, who cares about polling? What does it mean? Who cares? Here's the thing, and it's one of the things that matters the most, and it's actually part of why everybody being in here is so important. The only thing that is going to make any difference in like this period of time before there's an actual election is people registering that they're angry. And there's only a couple ways to do that. It is either in the streets, which gets dangerous and scary pretty fast, or it's in polling in the stock market. Like, those are kind of the numbers that you can use to reflect societal dissatisfaction. And so seeing the numbers go down should make us happy, because it means that, and this is JVL and I have this argument, we were talking about it, and this is if he were here, he would be telling you about all the schadenfreude he feels at seeing, or he would say bad JVL sees schadenfreude. Good JVL doesn't want anybody to lose their job. Do you want to?
Bad Sarah inside you at all?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Not even, not any time, not even after 2 glasses of wine?
I want everyone.
You never see a tweet about
I want everybody to be warm and happy.
Okay.
I just want people to be okay. Except for a couple people. I'm not going to say who. But I want you to be okay. I don't know where I was going with that now.
Well, look, I think that it also matters. The other reason that their numbers going down matter and dissatisfaction going up matters is because everyone in town is a political animal. Like, people are humans. They act differently. And Republicans, as cowardly and spineless as they've been, will start to act differently if they feel like this is a shit show. If they hear from their own Republican voters in particular, or voters in their district or their state that are pissed, that are like, why is he focused on Panama and Gaza, like, when they're not doing anything to improve my life, right? Like, these people are getting fired from the government. Who's being hired, right? Like, there's not, I think if there's dissatisfaction in the polls, but also in their communities, Republicans will start to act differently, and maybe we can win some of them over to not grow a spine, but to actually do stuff that's in their political interest to oppose them. And I think this takes us to the other thing. Maybe the Democrats will start to stiffen their spine a little bit too. And I think that how the Democrats act will be different in ways that are positive and nutritious politically in the future. Because I do think right now they are just confused about what to do over there. I bumped into Chris Murphy yesterday, and we were talking for a while, and I think he's been really good. I don't necessarily agree. Yeah. I don't agree with every single policy proposal he's put up, but just like strategically, like, he has been out there and he's been speaking clearly about the threat of Elon and why you need to stand up to them. And I was just kind of asking him, I was like, why does it feel like there aren't more, no offense, but I mean, he isn't doing anything magical, right? He's just like saying, this is bad, like, we shouldn't do this is bad. Why aren't there more? And he's like, it's because some of my colleagues are just not sure of the right approach, not sure what to do, or thinking about how to, and I think that if they see that this is a disaster and that public opinion moves against them, that will, I think, impact their behavior as well.
Yeah, I mean, I am so frustrated with the Democrats, because Democrats, you can tell when people are leading from behind, right? And when you're leading from behind.
Republican Sarah is out leading from behind.
Yeah, it is leading from behind. Because right after Donald Trump got elected the first time and everybody was up in arms about it because nobody expected it to happen, then Democrats were moving. But this time, when it doesn't look like there's a big public movement against him, it's like Democrats can't figure out what their role is supposed to be. And look, I don't think, we all sort of disagree a little bit about what they're exactly supposed to be doing, but we're all on the same page that, like, show up and do something. Like, and you don't have to be, I don't need them all to be TikTok influencers, but, like, call a press conference when things go, like, try to persuade people. People can be persuaded, and I think the reason that the poll numbers are so important is people can change their minds about this. I have this fight with JVL all the time, but there are of course, a whole bunch of energetic MAGA people who want to see Elon on stage at CPAC in sunglasses with a chainsaw. That's not everybody, though, and we shouldn't act like that's everybody. There are a lot of people who are just like, I don't know, my rent's too high, stuff's too expensive, whatever. Are those your real sunglasses?
Does this look cooler? Yeah, I just had them in the pocket. Yeah. Well,
I'll get you some new sunglasses.
Okay, thanks.
Those aren't my favet.
Yeah. Okay, great. Do you have any ones you want to go shopping for?
You should get some
We can go shopping
aviators.
after this?
Yeah.
Okay. I think aviators are a little out of vogue.
Not for lesbians. They're always in vogue for lesbians. Ask Kara, she knows. Anyway, the point is that the reason the numbers are going down is because there were always a bunch of people who were like, Joe Biden's old, Kamala's more the same, I really want prices to go down, and we shouldn't decide that all of them are a lost cause. And I think that if you do that, that's when you get really depressed. And there's a kind of a political nihilism in that, which is the thing that I always try to resist getting into, because then it's like, what's the point? What are we doing here? And so it was the best thing that happened to me this week, and I want to communicate it to you to feel good about it, to see his numbers start going down, because it is a bunch of people being like, this isn't what I meant at all. And look, in the focus groups, you can hear it. You ask about immigration, and half the group's like, deport them all, I'm good with it. Oh, if they get some Puerto Ricans in there too, they're only half Americans, it's fine, I don't care. And then there's the other group, though, that's like, wait a minute, I thought he was only going to deport criminals. And now I don't like what's happening now. Or we have a new episode out today about Elon, which we can talk about, but in half the group, they're like, yeah, man, love Elon, love what he's doing, I have Tesla stock and it's great. I want to go to Mars. And then there's like the other half of the group that's like, why is this cartoon villain billionaire in the government at all, right? And so those people can be persuaded that they're not getting what they wanted. And we should do that. And Democrats, and this is the job of Democrats, it's not just to like get on TikTok or whatever. It is to say we have an alternative. And actually, I think that you cannot look forward while you're obsessed with looking backward, which I think Democrats are looking backward trying to figure out where they went wrong. And as a result, they are not able to communicate how to look forward. And I actually think, I did want to say this to this room, and it goes back to the principles a little bit. People in this room have a pretty clear sense of where they'd like to go, which means I'm not sure that we should wait a lot for Democrats, because I do think we're the ones we're waiting for. Because there's probably more leadership and vision that's going to come out of this place here than we're going to get out of the Democrats.
Yeah, TikToks are also good.
Did you say stop picking on Democrats? Never.
Never. I would love to stop picking on Democrats. They would just need to wake up. I'm sorry. I just need to be. They need. We did. I tried. Yeah, we appreciate it. I loved it. I'm not talking about Democrats like every single Democratic human in the country is not stepping up. I'm saying that the people down there, I think, need to realize what the moment is that they're in, and I think that some of them do and some of them don't. And we could probably serve a positive purpose in here by nudging them in the right direction. I also think that the other thing that I hear from people who come to things like this is, what can we do? What can we do? We saw some of this with the folks going to the town hall with Rich McCormick this week. I thought that was very good. It was awesome to see that. That's not a swing district. He's in kind of northeast Atlanta, like exurbs. This is a very red district. He had 65% of the vote. That's good. The other thing, though, and I talked about this with Kinzinger a little bit yesterday, but I wanted to reiterate it here, is I think that 2026 is going to be a great year for Democrats, and I don't actually know, they might not even have to do anything and have it, and it might be a good year for them anyway. And so I think that in order to maximize that, like, more people should be on the field and more people should be running for office. And I think that a lot of times at these sorts of things, right now there's a lot of wound licking, there's a lot of we're worried about various things. There's a lot of things to be worried about. There is rending of garments and gnashing of teeth. And I think really that is going to, there's people concerns about their safety. And I think that is going to discourage people from running. And really, we should be doing everything possible to people in our lives and our communities, particularly if you live in places that are kind of red-ish, light red, to encourage them to run. Because historically, you always have very surprising people win in the first midterm of an unpopular president. We saw it in 2010, we saw it in 94, we saw it in 2006. I guess that was the first midterm of an unpopular president's second term. But And you get people in office that you're like, whoa, that guy won? Like, that always happens on election day. And I think that that's one thing that everybody in here could be doing and that we should be encouraging and recruiting other folks to do.
Yeah, good answer. But I think this is like a worthwhile thing to point out. I think it's a worthwhile conversation to have because you get this like sort of pushback where it's like, oh, people are picking on Democrats.
As they should.
Hold on. Well, we don't have to have a whole crowd participation thing, but I do think that is a representative opinion of a fair number of people, and I just want to here's the thing that I would say because it deserves real discussion. Democrats in the latest Gallup poll overall in terms of the public perception, Republicans were at 42%, Democrats were at 21%. 21% of the country thinks Democrats broadly are doing a good job. Now, if you're terrified, like I am, of what's happening in this country, then you are desperate for an opposition party worth a damn. And so I gotta say, Democrats have allowed Republicans over the last decade to run roughshod over them on their media capabilities. They've built an entire media apparatus while Democrats were asleep, thinking MSNBC and the mainstream media was going to carry their water for them. It won't anymore. I don't know if you've noticed, the media is not going to show up and do the work for anybody. And Democrats are going to have to adjust to that new reality. And Democrats are going to have to figure out why they're so unpopular. I have a lot of reasons why I think that is. But you just got beaten by Donald Trump, and also, like, they are consolidating with a bunch of your old people. Elon, RFK, Tulsi, Trump. They were all Democrats 12 years ago. So, like, what's happening? It's like somebody's going to have to figure out how we push back, and there's only two political parties in this country. And I'll tell you what, listening to voters, if you listen, so we get it from elite Democrats, like why are you guys picking on Democrats? It doesn't help anything. You listen to voters in focus groups, all they want one thing. People are like, what do Democrats want? What do you think it is they want?
Fight.
They want to win. They want to win. And they want somebody who's going to fight and win. And so what's happening right now ain't it, is how I would respond to that.
Well, what's happening right now ain't it across the board. Isn't that the point of us being here? Like, honestly, like the administration and what they are doing is going to have such catastrophic consequences that we decided it was 4:15 or 4:30 on a Saturday, and we weren't going to focus on all that. You had plenty of that from the Russian dissident telling us about how bad things are going to get. So we all see that. I mean, we could do, heat spec that we could do 20 minutes on the Republicans on the Hill, having no balls. Do we want to do that? I don't know. We don't really need to do that, but that's I guess that's fun times for everybody. But like the reality is that it needs to be people at groups like this and things like this that stand up and offer something new and offer people a new positive future. And I think that honestly, it actually is pretty easy to be in the opposition once you've decided you want to oppose. And there's so much shit to oppose. What they're doing is so harmful, so dangerous, and is going to have so many long-term ramifications that you can just pick whatever thing it is that pisses you off the most and lean into that. And that's what I encourage folks to do.
Yeah, like let me pick one. Okay.
All right, great.
So right now we're abandoning Ukraine and we're aligning with Russia. We think that's bad, right? Why aren't Democrats, these are like gimmies, why aren't Democrats, Marco Rubio right now is being humiliated. Like, they are walking this guy by the scruff of his neck around being
Hold
like,
on.
go in front of...
I don't think he's being humiliated. I think that he's a Cuban agent that's been running a long-term con. But that's
You
just
think
a
this
theory.
is a long game?
It's just a theory I
This is
have.
how you do the disinformation, right? This is what you mean?
It's just a theory I have. I don't know. So, I know. Some people think that he looks like he's unhappy. I don't know. I think that he looks like his bosses are super thrilled with him. I don't know. Just a theory. Continue.
I think he looks like his soul has left his body, and I think that what should Democrats do? There's a million videos of Marco Rubio. It took us 5 minutes. We went and found a bunch of them of him being like, you never give in to Putin the thug. They will never get that land. And this is like from 2 years ago. Follow him around with the video of what he said, of what he believed 2 years ago. Hit him with it. These guys are all frauds. They all believe something different 5 minutes ago.
JD was here 5 years ago. He was sitting right there, hanging out. JD, the vice president. JD?
Oh, JD. Oh, JD. It's like,
Yeah, he's here. He's hanging out with us.
JD
well.
was a never.
Now he's tweeting.
He wasn't really here.
He might as well have been.
He might as well have been. He was just a never Trumper like us. Everything he says now is different. Embarrass them with it.
All right. We've got a couple other topics we got to get to. And
Yes,
then
shame
we're going.
is not a thing they're great at. That's true.
No, it isn't. We got a couple of other things we got to get to before we get to the bar. Do you have any questions for me? Do you want to do any questions for me or no? Because I have a final topic for you.
A quick AMA with each other.
You're first.
Okay. What are the pearls about?
These pearls right here?
Yeah.
Feeling young. Mostly feeling young, and sending a signal to people that you can be a man and still wear your grandmother's jewelry. There's no shame in that.
That's a good answer. Okay, I have a second question for you.
Okay.
Have you ever been nearly arrested and had to call your boss to get you out of it?
That is a good question. Let's see. Have I ever been nearly arrested and had to? Doesn't ring a bell.
I wasn't sure if it would.
Is there something in particular you had in mind? No, it doesn't ring a bell. Anyway, okay, moving on. Sarah, I wanted to know from you, I did a rant this week about Dave McCormick. He's the one person that I hate the most out there right now. Davos Dave, thank you. I have the passion of like 100 fiery sons for Davos Dave McCormick. And so before we got to our final topic, I wanted to see who has disappointed you the most this month in February of 2025. And I want to let you cook talking about the person that has disappointed you the most.
I mean, I think it was Rubio. Oh, I wish I'd known you were going to do this. I wouldn't have wasted all my Rubio content. I got to tell you, there is a picture. I don't know. I think about this picture all the time, and it's of the primaries in 2016. And it is Marco Rubio, Nikki Haley, and Tim Scott holding hands as they, the future of the Republican Party. And if you think about it, in our 2015, 2016 brain, when the Republican Party was the party of old white men, and you were like, look at this new generation who talk about American exceptionalism. Look what the Republican Party is heading. And I think about that all the time as Nikki Haley on her XM radio show, Sirius XM radio
The ratings
show.
aren't that good. I was checking that out. The
not-
ratings are a little middling.
Yeah. She endorsed Trump, but she popped up to do a little criticizing this week. When Nikki Haley endorsed Trump, what do you think her end game was? I mean, it was to have some influence in the future of the party, probably, right? How influential do we think she is now that she's sold her soul off? Yeah. Marco Rubio selling his soul at least got him Secretary of State. Now, all he's got to do is side with America's enemies and broker the deal where what do? We steal the mineral rights from our
taking the
ally,
minerals.
right? And
Russia gives nothing. Well, they get land. Russia gets land. We get mineral rights. Ukraine loses.
well, they fought and died for that land, according to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Unlike the Ukrainians.
Well, Russia also gets their economy opened up, which we're very excited
Yeah,
about.
because we're going to partner with them.
Yeah, we're going to partner with them. A lot of economic partnership with Russia. Great news for people that sell penthouses in New York and diamonds. Besides that, I don't know. What else are Russians buying? Do we have a lot of economic engagement with Russia?
I hate these people, the ones selling us out to Putin.
I had to watch Megyn Kelly interview Mike Waltz yesterday, and it just, I almost bled out of my stomach. I was watching it, and he was doing his best to make this pitch that you're the other side of the pitch you were talking about. He's like, well, it's going to be It's pretty important. It actually shows how committed we are to Ukraine, that we're going to be building stuff on their land, and that now we'll have some skin in the game when it comes to getting this aluminum out of this. And I was like, oh, really? We have skin in the game? Trump's going to send troops in to protect our aluminum in eastern Ukraine?
How are they going to fight on all these fronts when we're already invading Canada and we're taking back the Panama Canal and annexing Greenland? Yeah, red, white, and blue land, guys.
It's tough. All right, here's where I want to end. I have a thought on this, but I want to hear your thoughts. We were joking at the top when those little doofuses were running through the hallway trying to get attention on social media about, there are people that are scared. There are people that have come up here that have expressed their concerns and fears about what Kash Patel and these guys are going to do. Obviously, we have seen the fear in the eyes of our CEO class, who have all totally submitted to Donald Trump and decided that rather than risk challenging him, they're just going to lick his toes. And we've seen fear, obviously, from all of the Republicans on the Hill in the Senate and the Congress. And so, I do think there's some legitimate reasons for people to have some fear. I don't think that probably the next 4 years are going to be a smooth ride. And so my question for you is, how afraid are you?
I am not saying this to sound whatever. I'm not. And I actually have, first of all, we're not Russia yet. Right? Yeah, great news. Great news. The First Amendment still exists. I still feel mostly okay to go near windows and feel like I'll be all right. I just think that, I don't know, maybe I've said this before, but you grow up hearing that quotation about the only thing to fear is fear itself. And I'd never thought about it that hard. I'd repeated it or I'd read it or whatever, but I'd never thought about it. And when you think about it, you realize how potent fear is, how it closes civic spaces, right? How it makes you afraid to say a thing you might otherwise say, how it makes people do things anonymously and not put their name on them, or not do anything at all. And look, I talk to a lot of donors, and if you look across the media companies, you see why they're doing it, right? CBS isn't caving because, they're afraid of the news. They're caving because Disney, ABC, not CBS, ABC, and CBS with Paramount, right? They've all got stuff in front of the government, and so they're afraid. And so I think that actually, this goes back to your question about what is the most disappointing. Obviously, I'm disappointed in a lot of these individual Republicans, but the thing I'm most disappointed in, I think, is people with enormous resources and enormous influence letting this all happen in order to protect their little corner of whatever it is, and their shareholders and whatever. And I know that a lot of those people, they've talked a big game for, America has given them their whole bounty. Right? They have profited enormously. And so I just, the fact that people won't sort of stand up for the thing has been the worst about it. And that the fear component, whether it's big or small, because you hear it from folks on the Hill all the time. They'll just say this line, and I'm sympathetic to it, but they'll say, I don't know, I got kids. And Donald Trump has introduced an enormous amount of menace into our politics. It did not used to be like this. You didn't used to get death threats the way you get death threats. Now, some of it is a mixture of Donald Trump and the internet and people being able to find you easily and everything else. And so, the world feels sort of scary. But if you let the fear shut you down, that is the way that it ends. And so we have no choice but to not be afraid. If you let the fear own you, right, you are paralyzed and you can't do anything. And also, I do think that it's important for people to think of themselves and what can you do? You cannot be afraid, and you can show other people how to not be afraid, and you can demand from your elected leaders that they stop being afraid. Because the fear is the thing that is paralyzing things right now.
Absolutely. And I want to add to that. I don't want to understate this because I have real fears for the country, and I think that there are people out there that should have legitimate fears. I mean, obviously, some of the people who have already lost their jobs, who have issues with financial fears, or we write about these folks at the Bulwark, immigrants or trans folks. Like, there are plenty of people out there that have legitimate fears. But us here, you and me, people that are supposed to be speaking out, people that are in the political fray, we cannot be made to be afraid of these fucking people, okay? We cannot. I know these people. They are cowards. They are cowards, okay? Like, Kash Patel would shit his pants if he was in Fallujah, okay? So would I, by the way. But, like, I know them. I know their type, and they are cowards. They are bullies, and they are cowards, and they are trying to intimidate us, and they are trying to shut us up with their stupid letters that they're sending from Ed Martin in the DOJ or from Elon Musk's Twitter feed. He thinks that he can bully people and shut them up for his Twitter feed. No, none of these people are worth fearing, all right? And when I talked to Kinzinger about this yesterday, and his message to them was, come and arrest me, all right? Come and arrest me. But until then, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And I feel like people need to hear that, because speaking out right now is a good in itself. A lot of times on our podcast, we talk about what's the strategic thing to do and what's the smart thing to do. And as I think about this, if we are really going where I think all of us think we're going, towards an Orbanist type government, like, nobody asks the dissidents in Hungary, like, do you think that it's going to help the polls if you speak, your poll numbers, if you speak out against Orban? Nobody asks that, right? Because everyone understands that in the face of an autocratic threat, just saying no is an end into itself. And so, to me, we might all go through this principles list in 2029, God willing, with a new president, and discuss how many of them we still agree on, and in the public space, get to debate the policies and disagree on them. But in the meantime, our job is to say no to this, to stand up to them, and to not be afraid, because they want you to be afraid, and you have no reason to be fearful of these little men. That's all I got. Anything else?
That's it.
We'll see you at the bar.
Let's have a drink. Yeah.